Welcome to the Moto Cult Privateer Files podcast. Moto Cult is all about bringing you down-to-earth product tests, moto news, ride reviews, and insights from industry insiders. I'm your host, Stetson Scheibel. So kick back, relax, and let's talk some moto. Thanks for listening to the Circuit Equipment Privateer Files podcast, brought to you by the Racers Connection. Circuit Equipment is a globally renowned brand that has been operating since 1984 in the accessories segment for motorcycles and dirt bikes. Today, they offer a complete line of products that cater to many models, brands, and riding disciplines in the two-wheeled world. Now they're offering high-quality riding gear in addition to their hard parts lineup in the U.S. market, as seen on the madparts.com Kawasaki Race Team in AMA Supercross and Motocross. And with that, that is a great segue into today's guest, the owner and one of the riders of the madparts.com Kawasaki team, Bubba Pauli. What is up, Bubba?
Oh, it's just a Wednesday here between some races. I'm in the office working on business stuff, get these boys racing throughout the summer.
Beautiful. Well, that's a lot of what I wanted to talk about. You know, the whole purpose of the Privateer Files is to kind of pull the veil back on the privateer life and kind of show people what it's all about and show people why you guys are so important to our beloved sport, and talk about all the cool things that you guys get to do as normal dudes who get to race dirt bikes for a living, and also some of the struggles and maybe even some of the ways that the average fan could help you guys out. So first of all, the listeners can't see this, but I see that you're still in a sling. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling right. I'm just over 2 weeks out from surgery on my shoulder. Injured that Dallas Supercross round 7 back in late February, and then took a couple weeks off, finished the season pretty poorly, but tried to finish. And I had surgery immediately after Salt Lake City, so got this thing on the road to recovery now. So had 5 pins put in the labrum around my head of my shoulder, head of my humerus into my shoulder socket. So got some healing ahead of me. I'm not going to be racing this summer, unfortunately. So. But definitely the show goes on. So that was the whole reason behind my start of doing the team in the first place, was to be able to get sponsors for myself, but give them a resource to still go racing if a rider gets injured. And, so it's a perfect example of what we're doing right now. I'm injured, but the show still goes on. We've got other guys racing, so sponsor dollars are going to use. Right,
exactly. And it gives you an opportunity to still, feel engaged into the race day. Even though you may be laid up, you're still, a vital part of now top tens in the AMA Motocross series, which is pretty wicked. I think if I would have told 13-year-old Bubba Pauli what's going on this summer, you would have laughed and not thought that was possible. Or maybe because you're such a crazy entrepreneurial guy, you would have been like, well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I would have been winning by now. So
Right on. Well, I honestly don't think that the team is super far from that. A great example is, PMG, as it's known now, or, the HEP team. You guys just not that long ago weren't too different of programs, and now they're standing on the top step at the highest level. Which is it's an awesome story. And I don't think, now that I've had the privilege of seeing behind the curtain a little bit on your team, I don't actually think that the team is that far away from that for what my opinion is worth. And it's really cool to see a top talent like Freddie. We all know that John Short and Josh didn't exactly, they're not living up to what their talent truly is, or what the team's talent truly is. There's a variety of reasons for that we're going to kind of get into a little bit on the show. Because I think it's an interesting storyline, to see the madparts.com Cowie in the top 10 and consistently in main events. And then on the other side of the coin, really seeing some very, very talented guys struggle. But to go back a little bit, you talked a little bit about not racing at all this summer. So how is this off season different for you? Because for all intents and purposes, it's your off season, even though your team is racing, and you typically don't run out an outdoor team. So how does this offseason kind of look different for you? What are you usually doing versus what are you going to be doing now?
Yeah, so obviously, I personally haven't raced the Nationals in a few years. So, the team structure now going outdoors full year round. We got crew chief, mechanics, riders, everybody, it's a full-time operation. So Typically in the summer, the last couple of years, I'd travel and went a couple trips to Europe and did some racing over there, spent some time doing that, and then, racing fair races, regional money races and stuff around the Midwest here. So, obviously I'm missing out on a lot of those money races. My major income is racing still. I run the team and manage all that, but put the team first before my income. So yeah, right now it's puts me personally in a little bit of a tough situation because obviously I'm committing and responsible for the team, but I'm not able to earn my full income like I typically would racing. So it's a little difficult, but obviously you plan for these type of things. Just making sure you get money saved up that you can survive on so you can get back at it. But it's a building stage too. So, financially, like in the future, when I'm done racing, I'm obviously going to continue this. And my goal is to have a platform and full salary for myself so I can run this because it's well more than a 40-hour week to run this operation and do what I do. So but yeah, like I said, at this point at the building stage, we're always going to be building no matter what. It's racing, right? So
exactly.
It's my summer's definitely different and difficult. I do some coaching and stuff, and my downtime I squeeze some stuff in there. So I'm currently in an immobilizer sling, so I haven't done any coaching yet since surgery. But here in the next couple weeks, I'll start to squeeze some of those sessions in, and some local riders, and even go different places and do some weekend camps and schools and stuff when I have time.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, because that's how a lot of people kind of identify you in the pits is they talk a lot on Race Day Live about your training and your coaching, and you've been featured on Race Day Live for that. So I think that's how a lot of people kind of view you. So that's what I was wondering, getting to know you a little better. I haven't seen that as much because you're so focused on racing and on and keeping the team going. So how is that going? Do you like doing it? And what's your biggest clientele? Are there fat, slow vet guys like me that race woods that come to you, or is it all fast amateur kids? What's that kind of like?
Oh man, anything and everything. Obviously, I just try to pass down what I learned the hard way. And the coaching, I make money doing it, but that's not the reason why I do that. I really like to see others gain off of stuff that I had to learn the hard way, like I said. So anything. I've taught 4-year-olds how to ride a motorcycle. I've taught a 78-year-old how to be more comfortable and confident when he hits the jump. And everything in between. I've coached and worked with other pros. That's part of the deal with the team too. We got other pro guys that are on the team, and the team is their foundation. So we give our input. We help out where we can from every different angle. So kids going to Loretta Lynn's, just anything and everything from low riders to pros. Been on all these positions, so I know what it's like. And a lot of times I didn't have guidance, so I wish that I can just pass some of those things along. So I enjoy it for sure. But like I said, it's not necessarily the money generating role that I'm really after.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, and be sure to keep us in the loop when you're gonna have camps and stuff like that. We'd be happy to promote it, and you definitely need to get hooked up with some in the Southeast so we can have some of our guys out there and have a cool Bubba Pauli camp. We would absolutely love that. So you kind of answered my next question, what it's like kind of being a team manager for outdoors. So let's kind of talk a little bit more in detail like that. What is it like sitting on the couch and watching your bike, your rider, your truck, your everything, your entire life basically being not only just cracking the top 10, but being a top 10 guy in the battle, in the fight, and you're sitting there just watching it, not in a negative way, but in a positive way, just sitting there like, oh my gosh, this is my life's work. And now it's all over the media. Everybody's pumped up about Fast Freddy, and just tell us what that's like and what it feels like to see that.
Yeah, it's a good question because I get a lot of comments, text messages, Instagram messages, whatever. People just randomly asking me, oh, that's pretty cool, good job, that's cool, good job. And we wouldn't be where we're at today if we were content with where we're at. So, you're watching it lots of times. And I sit there and I'm watching the broadcast at home because I'm injured. I have a stopwatch in my hand and I'm recording every time our riders are seen on screen. And those are data points that I go back and I share with sponsors and everything like that as well. So it's work, and obviously when the rider is on the screen, you're sitting there trying to observe as much as you can, rewind it, watch it again, watching the segment times and where guys on the track are faster than your guy, where your guy's making improvements, even have debrief calls with the riders afterwards just based on split times, segment times and stuff. And, hey, these are some angles and some approach we need to be better at. So it's definitely a job. But to answer your question more than anything is, where can we be better? How can we be better? That's what's going through my mind. So it's not so much like a moment of celebration. It's like, okay, hey, we need to improve. We need to be better. Last weekend in Hangtown, they had a piece of the broadcast, the Practice Your Power Award. The cameras going through the pits, and they had to be on the starting line, and it was a total of a full minute of individualized broadcast. And in that minute of watching that, 100 thoughts popped in my mind on how we can represent sponsors better. We could take an advantage of that time to promote our brand, our sponsors, our partners better. Was there a lot of great coverage? For sure, but we could be better. And it's the same thing on the track. We can be better. How can we be better? We need to make sure we're moving in that direction.
I honestly am a little shocked that was your answer, but I could not be more impressed, to be honest, because I think a lot of teams that we hear on other shows, and I've talked to some team owners of privateer teams that, hey, man, it's like a win to get into the top 5. It's like a win to get into the main, depending on the rider's level, which I do think is a healthy mindset, talking about, kind of the mental aspect of the game. I do think that's a healthy mindset in a way. But, Bubba, I really appreciate your forthcomingness about, like, hey, guys, not that top 10's not good, but I don't care because we're always trying to get better. I'm not going to sit back, even though I'm laid up. I'm still not going to sit back and say, wow, we did it, because you put it great. We wouldn't have ever gotten a top 10 if every time we got to one of these milestones, we sat back and said, wow, look how awesome we are. I think that's a very humble way to look at racing, and I think that's a very, very good way to have continual improvement, because we talk about this in business a lot. People say there's a term out there, a very hot term, continuous improvement. Well, continuous improvement, the word continuous actually has a connotation of improvement and then plateau and then reevaluation and then improvement again, where continual improvement is not stopping. It's a consistent, always rising rate. And so I think your mindset is very much a continual improvement. There's no plateau and rise, because if you would have been like that, if that was your attitude, then when you started the team to now, you probably wouldn't even be in the top 10. That would have taken a few more years. But I think by taking a continual approach, you are accelerating your results. And like I said, now that I've kind of seen behind the veil of the team, and I've had the team, we've hosted the team at my business. I've talked to the riders. I know Josh very well now. I've talked to Freddie behind the scenes and gotten some very honest feedback from him. I've talked to Ryan, one of your team managers, behind the scenes a lot, very personally. It is an incredible group of people. Todd, the guy who runs MX for Christ, he's an incredible motivator, an incredible part of your team. And everybody, when I was able to go to Nashville and watch behind the scenes and see how the culture of the team operates, literally from your wife to Bailey, one of the mechanics, to how Derek is such a strong leader. I think a stronger leader than he really realizes. And how Todd and Ryan and yourself manage things and talk through things, and how the riders are very independent thinkers, but also think of what's good for the team. You can listen to Josh. We'll have an episode coming out here in the next few weeks talking to Josh about some of his supercross struggles. And he always goes back to the team, and not in a, my bike sucks, the team doesn't give me what I need, not that type of kind of stereotypical thing. He's like, I feel terrible because this team gave me everything and I didn't do what I know how to do with it. And that is a really healthy culture to have, even though it really kind of hurt Josh inside. It was really cool to hear him really talk about how much you guys put into it. And I think that's bearing out now. And I'm really excited. And I hope the potential sponsors that are listening to this understand how much of a business you guys run this like. It is not a fun team, although you guys have a ton of fun. I had a blast in Nashville with you guys, but it's a business, and you guys are based off of continual improvement. And I think that is something that all the way from the privateer in a van by himself all the way to Red Bull KTM or HRC Honda, I think they could really, really take a page from y'all's book on that. And I think looking a little bit behind the scenes at AGP PMG Group, I think they have a very, very similar mindset. I think Dustin goes about things a little differently than you do, a little more aggressive. But I think because of that, he's had some success maybe sooner. But I think you have a very sustainable culture model, to put a very corporate term on it, if you know what I mean. Do you kind of get what I'm getting at?
Yeah, for sure. And that's a big perspective that we have too. You know, the model is to be sustainable and to make sure that we not only check all the boxes along the way, but make sure, you know, when we do reach these points of success and these milestones, that we truly worked for it. We truly overcame adversity to get to that point. It just means so much more. Not that I'm saying we're trying to hold ourselves back to make sure we punish ourselves before we get there, but, you know, just to make sure that, hey, we deserve every single bit of success that we accomplish. And, you know, that's super important. And there's no one way to get to the top, and everybody does things different. And, you know, I respect all of our competition and the way that they do things, but unfortunately I wasn't really, you know, I didn't really have the resources to get to a certain point. You know, it just grew so organically, and, you know, that was kind of just leads to where we're at today. And I just want to keep that model going. And I want to make sure when we do get to the top that we don't forget where we came from. You know, we don't forget all the mom and pop shops that gave us a couple $100 here or there along the way, that, you know, their hard-earned money that helped us go racing. And, you know, when you talk about a business side of it too, I think a lot of people see racing as a hobby. And I'll tell you, the people that don't see racing as a hobby are the people that invest their full lives into it, the people that have jobs and careers out of it. And I think that needs to be a little bit more known. And in our industry specifically, when you look at, say, Formula One or MotoGP or IndyCar, you know, NASCAR, you know, it's like there's careers, there's people's livelihood depends on their job. And, you know, we provide jobs as well. And I think that's a shift that I want to help. You know, I want to help our industry see that a little bit different. You know, from just the average fan, they think, you know, they say privateer team, and they think it's just people doing it for passion and hobby. Like, no, our guys get paid. You know, it's you know, sponsor dollars that are going. You know, it's providing jobs. You know, business provides jobs, right? So, you know, we have full-time staff, and it's you know, trust me, it's not easy to get everybody paid, but you know, at the end of the day, it is a business, and every business has a different model. Every business has different outlooks and perspectives and, you know, direction that they want to go. And, you know, ours is different than most, and it's, you know, proven to be working at this point. And the light at the end of the tunnel for sure on, you know, the overall goal is to win and come out on top. I don't know how long it'll exactly take to be there, but, you know, over the next few years, you know, staying at the top step of the podium is definitely the goal.
Yeah, I don't think we're far away. This will get cut out, but I'm going to do a quick sponsor read. The Racers Connection has been supporting local rippers, privateer pros, and bringing you the best down-to-earth local race coverage since 2014. You got to check them out at TRCMXCO or The Racers Connection on all platforms, and at theracersconnection.com. Go to their site, buy a shirt. That money goes directly to helping out guys like Bubba Pauli, like Josh Cartwright, like Freddie Noren, like Grant Harlan, or if you find a local ripper who deserves a little bit of money to help get himself to Loretta's or to another big national event, because he's ripping and he deserves to, you know, be seen by the industry, let us know. Send a message to TRCMX and talk about that local ripper, and you know, we'll do what we can to get him some support. All right, so I'll go right into my next question. I'm going to flag this, Josh, so that you can kind of, it's like right at 1930, so you can go ahead and get it together. All right. So with all of that work that the team is doing, running it like a business, all these things, I know this is a hard thing to talk about. I think our industry is deplorably bad at doing this. And the reason I'm asking you these questions is because I think that you understand the reality that going behind the curtain and talking about the reality of what it's like to race at the professional level is what people care about. I can tell you from a sponsor perspective, after sponsoring your team, Josh individually last year, and some other teams also in the off-road dirt bike world, people who want to give their money to you guys want to know what's actually going on. So I want to get into a little bit of a more difficult thing to talk about, which is poor results. It's no secret. It's obviously public knowledge. During the Supercross season, Josh Cartwright wasn't exactly where you guys or he wanted to be. Certainly not where his number one fan, which is me, wanted him to be. Especially after last year being such an awesome year, showing what he really can do. I tell Josh a lot that his talent is actually much higher than he realizes. If he would stick his darn toes in when he would ride, he probably would be winning main events, is what I joke with him about. I text him sometimes on race day and be like, dude, I can see your duck feet from the TV on my couch. Tuck your toes in, son. You're killing me. But he really truly has a lot of raw talent, especially to be able to ride with poor form sometimes the way he does, and then be able to absolutely rip. And it obviously was disappointing. We like I said, we recorded an episode on site with him at Nashville, and he did a really good job, really deeply talking about what's going on, man. Because the entire industry, I mean, I heard it anywhere from Vital MX to Pulp MX to Racer X. Everybody was like, I talked to Jason Wygant in person in Birmingham, like, what's going on? Is he hurt? Is there some secret injury? No, Josh isn't really like that. Maybe he tweaked something here and there. He did get hurt during the season, but he was open about it. But it was off the rails well before that. And I think Josh did an incredible job opening up and being like, listen, man, I am just not mentally there to race dirt bikes this year. I think he was really talking highly of the bike. It obviously was very similar, since you guys ran the 23 platform of the KX450 to his bike last year. You guys have a ton of data on that bike. Watching the bike as a setup nerd, I think you guys have a very well set up motorcycle. Obviously, Derek Rankin being part of the program even elevates that more with all the technical knowledge that he brings. You have great technique yourself, and so I think being able to set up a bike probably becomes very natural to you. Freddie brings a ton of knowledge, obviously, and you guys work super hard. And that's the biggest component. So it's not that. I see how well you guys use your resources, whether it be sponsorship dollars or equipment. So it's definitely not a lack of things that the riders need to do their job well. You guys have a great rig. You have a great pit setup. The guys are well fed. There's all these things, and like you said, you help with training. Josh has plenty of places to ride in Texas. He has fast guys to ride with. I mean, he's riding with and beating guys during the week that are making main events. And obviously last year, his average finish was around 16 to 18, which is phenomenal. He got a 15th, I believe, in Detroit. He transferred directly to the main a lot of times. He transferred directly to the main in Indianapolis, which is self-admittedly his worst track and his absolute least favorite place to race in the world, which was really fun being on the floor with him, being his so-called, air quotes, mechanic, aka a glorified t-shirt wearer. But it was really cool to be able to see him ride so good. And then it just fell apart this year. And it's really disappointing to, from a fan of the team perspective too, like, dang, man, like that. Some of the thoughts that can creep in are like, dang, like, who should have gotten that spot? Like, maybe Josh should have not taken that spot if he didn't think that he was mentally there. Did he know? He says, yeah, I kind of knew, but I didn't. I always thought that racing was the one thing that I always could do no matter what. I was proved this year that that's not the case, but I believe as his friend, that kind of helped him grow as a human, which is great. And, some other thoughts creep in too, like, man, was being on a team a bad choice for Josh? Is the journeyman life what Josh needs? Maybe. I don't think so. You know, just talking as an acquaintance of his, I don't think so, because I saw how much work he had to put in last year versus how much you guys do for him this year. So talk a little bit about, you know, what it's like as the owner, as a rider, to relate to Josh, and what you guys are doing on top, you know, or if anything, like on top of what you normally would do when you have a guy struggling the way he was struggling.
Yeah, obviously that's, like you said, that's a difficult topic, you know, to talk about, because, you know, obviously I'm a racer as well, so I know what it's like and how difficult it can be. You know, just cut and dry this year, the field was deeper and tougher than it has been in a while. You know, just less guys getting injured. Yeah, the last couple of races there was a few more injuries, but you know, prior to that, you know, everybody was on it. Everybody elevated this year. It was difficult to compete. At the same time, you know, you've seen it over and over and over again in almost any form of racing, not even just racing, any sport, you know, any competition. I mean, business, life, everything. You know, consistency is super hard to master. When I talk about consistency, I mean year-to-year consistency, not just you know, week to week. You know, when you talk about just a business or a sports team, anybody like that, you know, year after year after year, you see it. You know, like in football, you know, it's the Patriots coming to mind. You know, it's like they won a lot of Super Bowls in a short amount of time. You know, or Tom Brady specifically. But that's rare, right? That's not all the time. You know, when you come into racing, for example, into our sport, you know, well, obviously Jet Lawrence has been dominant, but he's young and he just started this. You know, he had a big mistake last weekend, ended his win streak. You know, so. But you look at champions, you know, Jason Anderson won in, was it 2018, won the Supercross Championship?
Yep.
And, you know, and he said ups and downs since then. So, you know, for Josh last in 2023, he had a great year. We helped him out, you know, quite a bit on the side. He wasn't a full member of the team, but 22, he was a full member of the team. And so, yeah, there was a lot of things that changed, but overall, you know, he had some of that same structure when he had that great year. Obviously, this year he was a full member of the team, and you know, we provided a lot, and we're heavily invested in him. And unfortunately, that's just how it goes. Sometimes, you know, riders have ups and downs, and sometimes we can't really explain why. Sometimes it's a confidence issue that they're just trying to get mastered, and you know, and sometimes riders fully understand, you know, the way things unfold until it's over, you know, and you take a look back on it and you say, man, if I would have done this a little bit different, I would have created a little bit more confidence, and that would have just led to one thing after another, and would have been a different spot at the end of it. So, you know, but like I said, this just how it goes. If it was easy, then everybody'd be doing it. So, you know, I mean, look at KTM, for example. You know, a couple of years ago, you know, it was the best bike, best program. You know, he couldn't beat it, and now it's, you know, almost like it kind of fell apart. You know, yeah, Chase Exon just went out and dominated this weekend, but you know, that was the first win they had since Blake Baggett in 2020 at Redbud.
Crazy to think about.
2024 right now, like, you know, of a program that was once so dominant. You know, so obviously you compare Josh's performance this year to last year, and you know, yeah, it looks like he just kind of fell off. But you know, you look at KTM, for example, and it's like, you know, yeah, they're still in the top 5, so people see that, or they're still, you know, being on the podium. So people don't really necessarily think that they just fell off. But from their perspective, it's like, hey, we're not winning. What's going on? We fell off. You know, that whole group, the Austrian group, you know, Husqvarna, Cascade, KTM, you know, they built that program to win. And when they didn't win, it's, you know, it's really no different than the position we're in with, you know, say with Josh this year. And, you know, and you look at it, the same boat, you know, it's the same program, the same platform that Freddie's on. He's been with us in Supercross the last 2 years, and he's never won a 450 LCQ until he came to our team. And obviously, you know, he's one of the motorcycles. I'm not taking full credit for that, but, you know, he's won 3 of them now since then. You know, we worked with Colt Nichols the last 4 races last year, and, you know, this was his best. The last super motocross playoff race, he was 8th overall in that championship, and you know, like, we took him to the races. He was on our platform, and, you know, so you can't blame the equipment, the bike. Obviously, Josh wasn't doing that. But, and I'm not blaming Josh either. We're all in. We won together, we fail together. But at the same time, when guys are having success and, climbing the ladder under the same program, it is what it is. But I completely understand and respect, it's racing. Nothing's ever promised, just because a guy did good last year doesn't mean he's going to do good this year. I've experienced that myself. So, yeah, it was definitely a little difficult, but, I like Josh. I respect him. He was respectful about the whole situation also. So,
yeah. He's a good he's a good one to be on your team. I think just because he kind of fits the whole. When Josh Cartwright is the worst human being on your team as far as riders go, like that's a pretty good group of dudes, and not like disparaging him. He's a buddy, just giving him a hard time. But like I call him nice guy Freddie, because fast Freddie doesn't matter to me as much as, nice guy Freddie. And then Bubba Pauli is, in my opinion, the best human being in the pits. I asked around as hard as I could with connections that would know if Bubba Pauli had ever been, even for a moment, a bad human being. And I literally couldn't. It ended up becoming like a comedic exercise for me to like, can anybody tell me something bad about Bubba? Even if you have to lie, tell me. And they can't. Nobody can. And they pretty much can't about Fred either, or Josh. Like I have gotten business in my personal business, my non-racing business, because I'm affiliated with Josh. It like literally because people love him that much. So at least you guys can, and not sit back because we already talked about that, but at least look over the team and say like, okay, we're all really good people. We're all really good human beings. And the whole team, not just the riders, they're all great dudes. But you can know that you guys are always trying to do the right thing, which at the end of the day is huge. And that's what's going to bring sponsors back a lot of the time. The country artist Hardy just did a commencement speech where he talked about the most successful people that he knows in the music industry are also the kindest, sweetest, most friendly people he knows in the music industry. And he said that's not a mistake. That's not a coincidence. People who treat people right always will be successful in some sort of way. So I think that's a key component to your guys' success. I'll take my own personal experience as an example. You guys do not have to be cool to me at all. I mean nothing. I've been a very small sponsor. I've been an inconsistent sponsor dollars-wise. And really, I'm more of just like a fan who is really annoying about access, and I get what I want because I won't shut up. And that's what I joke about with Josh, is I was this guy who threw him a little bit of money and gave him an idea for a sponsorship program that worked. It worked well, even though he doesn't give me enough credit for the helmet deals last year. That was my idea, and his merch was my idea. But we'll let that slide because I love him. But I really was just persistent until he was cool with me. And you guys, it extended to y'all. You and Ryan didn't have to answer my phone calls. You didn't have to do anything. And then I pulled some strings, was able to be a little bit of support this year through the business that I work with and my day job. And it literally, like, I've just like became part of the family. It was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. I was telling my dad, like, if that amount of money is all it took to like hang out with dudes in the supercross paddock, I would have done it 10 years ago, But it's just a testament to, I try and treat people right. You guys try and treat people right. And we're both successful in our own arenas. I've been blessed to be successful in some ways in the business world, in the construction world, and in engineering and what I do for my day job. And you guys are obviously successful. You're racing at the highest level. And those type of people just attract each other, and they always want to work together. And I think that's so cool. And, now for those that don't know, Bubba's kind of given me the opportunity to kind of take some of his slide decks and throw them at some of my business partners and try and bring some more money into the sport for these guys. It's something I'm very passionate about, supporting the Bubbas of the world, so to speak. We do that through the Racers Connection program. As well as just going directly to teams and trying to broker outside non-endemic sponsorship deals. Like I'm not bringing, Fox or Alpine Star to Bubba, but I may bring a local excavation company. You never know. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, and I think that means more at the end of the long run, which you know is important, I think that is what is going to be y'all's success story, even if you win a Supercross championship. It's not going to be how many plaques are glued to the inside of your rig door, so to speak, but how many people you guys have had a positive impact on, how many dreams you've made come true, just like mine. Whether it be interns that you guys bring in to let work on the team for a weekend, mechanics like Bailey, who just overnight he's driving a rig and working on supercross bikes, standing under the lights in a stadium. Like, how cool is that? And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Y'all's VIP lists at every supercross blows my mind of how many people you guys have in your family all across the country. And everybody gets treated like a homeboy. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, and it's so cool. And I think that's going to be y'all's mark on the sport. And I hope the other teams are paying attention, because I can tell you, guys that have deeper pockets than anybody else in the pits that I deal with in the business world, they have seen it, they've appreciated it, and they've talked to me about, hey, what's up with these guys? And they kind of seem a little different. And I go, yeah, this is kind of why they're different, and this is what they do. And it attracts successful people, much more so than some of the deals I've tried to broker, where I finally get a phone number and I get, essentially ignored because I'm not one of the homeboys. And I know you've probably experienced stuff like that in the motocross industry as well, Bubba.
Yeah, nothing worse than that.
No, it's honestly like it's like heartbreaking, because even though I understand where you're coming from with racing as a business, it's a passion industry overall. And so when that happens, when you get cool guyed, it really kind of sucks. But that's why I will support Bubba Pauli and his endeavors, and honestly the HBI guys as well. Pretty much until the day I die, or until y'all decide to stop racing, I won't stop singing either of y'all's praises, because you guys are way nicer and more welcoming than you have to be, and that's really, really, really cool. At the same time as you guys perform at a high level, and you guys, it's not like you guys, it's just all the buddies hanging out. Both teams operate on a very serious plane and very professional level, but balance it with that friendly atmosphere. And it's so super cool. And it's funny that you guys are both on Cowies and everything too. I've always thought that was cool. So kind of talking a little bit more about racing. I'm going to clean some of that up in post, but so, we know that Josh had those struggles. I appreciate kind of your inside look at the ups and downs of racing. It is just like the normal business world, honestly. So that's a good way to relate it. So right now, the current struggle, as we all know, is John Short. And the reason I use the word struggle is not because it's necessarily a dystopian or negative outlook, but here's the best way I can analogize it, if you will, is when nice people are mean, that's a huge bummer. When your grandmother spanks you as a child, that's terrible, right? But when mean people are mean, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. So to me, when guys who don't work that hard off the bike, don't have that much talent, aren't well liked in the industry, when they don't do well, no, who cares? Not very many people care. But John, we've done a privateer file with him that'll come out. We're going to continue it. Kind of, we did a little bit before he was on the team, when he was grinding it out by himself. We're going to follow that up with talking, what it's like transitioning back onto the team after taking a hiatus. But oh man, I lost it a little bit there, Josh. I'm sorry. You're going to have to clean that up.
I'd say just better to just pause.
Okay.
And then re-get your train of thought, 'cause it's much easier to edit around pauses than editing around
jumbling. Okay. Okay, yeah. So John's, it's not a negative outlook. It's because John is extremely fit. He's a fitness nerd. He works very hard off the bike, obviously. He works very hard on the bike. He builds and maintains his own track where he can ride whenever he needs to. He's a very honest guy. He's not, oh, yeah, on Instagram showing all the, Insta banger whips and flashes of him on a road bike. Like, he's actually kind of like I kind of got onto him, just like I have with Grant Harlan. Like, dude, You need to tell the me's of the world what's going on. You gotta do it. I don't care about a race report. It's great. That's awesome. But the me's of the world don't really care. I want to hear about how you doing, man. You know, and that's honestly what started the privateer files, is so many guys like me want to know what's going on. But we know, so to get back to John, like it's not a, he's struggling and he's, you know, he's terrible. Like, it's a struggle because the bike's great. The bike's phenomenal. John is in good shape. I know he's coming back from an injury that kind of took him a little longer than he expected to recover from. And he maybe not gelling great with California tracks. But kind of give us a little bit of an insight into where he's at and what are you guys doing to kind of bring him where he needs to be, which is like a, you know, top 15 kind of guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no excuses by any means. You know, you show up to the first race and, you know, you're going to finish what you're ready for. So unfortunately, he just wasn't ready. You know,
like fitness wise is what you're thinking?
No, just, I mean, time on the bike, confidence, comfortability. I mean, just the lack of time riding outdoors. You know, John hasn't raced outdoors since 2020. For the last couple of years, he's been injured during the summer, so he hasn't been able to race any outdoors. So that full training like that, you know, there's nothing like going to the races, and a lot of things change in a couple of years as well. You know, the tracks in California, these first two rounds they were really fast and relatively smooth. So it was just a hang it out kind of hit sketchy type of qualifying pace versus being very, you know, well put around the track and very technical style of track, which typically we see a lot of outdoors. You know, John was 15th at Daytona Supercross this year, and Daytona is the most technical track on the series. And, you know, that was a good ride for him. But, you know, you go to, say, Paula, and it's just fast, you know, kind of slippery. You know, you don't have to be very precise or a very technical rider to go faster on that track. Like, that's not his cup of tea, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely don't see him as a, you know, hanging off the side of the bike, wide open, fan in the clutch, you know, wild man type of style at all. He definitely comes off as more of that, like kind of like the workman style. You know, he's fit and he's strong as an ox, and he's very technical and he's got a lot of skill. You know, as far as like his basket of skill is bigger than his basket of guts.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, but like I said, no excuses. I mean, everybody's showing up to race the same thing. So, for him, just kind of going to take a little bit to kind of get him up to speed. You know, I would expect this weekend at Colorado to be a big shift. Last time we raced the Nationals, Colorado 2020, he went 14-12. So, wow. In the 450 class, yeah, obviously the field is different for sure. You know, the field this year, like I said, in Supercross, I mean, it's thick, it's deep. I mean, I got results pulled up on the screen right in front of me here, and you know, Jet Lawrence 24-6 for 12th overall. You know, obviously there was a reason behind that, but you know, Christian Craig, you know, 10th, and you know, Malcolm Stewart, you know, of course Freddie's in there, but you know, you got guys like Justin Hill and Kyle Chisholm, and Shane McElrath, you know, these guys that are back in the pack. You know, say middle of the pack essentially, but you know, these very well off guys are, you know, not performing what they're expected to, but a lot of that's just to do with the field being thick. You know, it just hasn't been this thick in quite some years. So, you know, a lot of guys are staying racing longer. A lot of guys are healthy this year, and it's when I say that, we're still missing Tomac and Webb out there. So,
right.
You know, but really, you know, that's about it, right? So, we typically do not see that going into outdoors. Normally, there's a big list of injuries and guys not being able to be ready for the first part of the summer. So this year, the field's thick for sure. So, and again, is that an excuse? Absolutely not. But, you know, just take a couple years off. You're coming back off an injury. You jump right into it. I mean, it's going to take some time. So, but what we did as a team, you know, after Paula, we went and we spent a couple days testing with him and made some good changes to the bike. Got it right where he wanted it, and you know, went up to Hangtown, and unfortunately had another not so great result. But you know, couldn't blame the bike. You know, it was just, you know, you're kind of right on that edge, and hey, we need to just go and fix some stuff personally and work on that raw speed this week, and you know, just being in communication with the rider when they go home. Hey, you got the parts you need. Are we going to try this stuff? Are we going to, you know, what's your outlook? What's your tactic this week? You know, he's make another change to the bike. the change that we made on race night the week before. So it's not like a new change, not like he's testing anything new, but just getting everything mashed up and, just having a plan. And obviously, trying to pushing the rider's head. Hey, last time you went and raced with this track, you were 12th in second moto. That's solid. That's right where we would love to see him every week, and he hasn't been there the first 2 weeks. So obviously, just trying to give every little bit of confidence you can to the rider is all we can do. If the rider's comfortable with the bike and they're just saying they need more time, then they need more time. So, but like I said, it's not easy for sure. And same thing like with Josh and Supercross. It's racing. Every year is different, and especially when you have 3 years off from outdoor motocross, to jump back into it, it's going to be harder than it was for sure. So that's where we're at right now. But I definitely have, high hopes and expectations for John as we move throughout the summer. And same thing with Freddie. Three of the first 4 motos inside the top 10 and top 10 in points right now is great. But I know he's capable of more. I know we can do more. I know we can get more out of the bike. So, just to be honest, Freddie's team bonus doesn't go up again until he gets inside the top 5. So 6th or 10th is the same to me.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's a cool insight. So he's got a top 5 race bonus, is what you're saying.
Yeah. He collects a bonus for top 10s also, but it goes up once he gets to 5th, and then every position in the top 5 goes up again. So, 6th or 10th, as far as how much is getting paid out from the team, it's the same on our end.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's super cool insight. So just not to go too far into it or anything you don't want to go into, but going into a little bit of the bike, I was thinking about John. He was on the 24 platform. He and I talked about that a little bit for Supercross. He got some experience on a true factory team with Beta, and he said that helped him a lot with testing and just learning. Like he said, I thought I knew how to test until I tested with a factory team, and I was like, oh, I actually don't know how to test at all. And so he said that helped immensely, even just like tuning his own bike, even just tuning clickers in the afternoon, at his track on his own bike. And so how does that kind of play in with y'all's testing? Obviously, Freddie is a great tester, is what I've heard. He's obviously been around the block and kind of knows what he likes. And you guys have Matt from Power Band helping out, which is cool. I talked to him a little bit about at Nashville. So kind of get into a little bit of the testing and maybe a little bit of the parts that you guys are running, what's different from Supercross. I know you guys did a little bit of fork work kind of near the end of Supercross with Freddie. So if you want to talk about maybe a little bit of the technical details, I think that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, having a platform and a base and having resources, super important. That's the first thing you got to master. Working with companies that provide resources, just like FCP, for example, with our engine mounts and steering races and those type of things. Luxon with the triple clamps and different options for those things, and Duval, different linkages, all sorts of different stuff that goes into the chassis. For example, Wassner with our pistons and rods, and
Do you guys have a custom Wassner spec, or are you using an off the shelf spec?
We're using a production spec they provide, but I mean we have 5-6 different pistons that have options to run through from them.
Wow.
So, they have really good resources. Those come from relationships again, like we're advertising for them, we promote their name and their brand and, stay in communication with them. And it's a relationship that takes work to manage. And obviously that's a resource that's beneficial to us. And those guys are awesome over there. So, when it comes to a rider wanting power in a little bit different place, it's like, okay, can we tune it with ECU? Can we change it with gearing? What's our fuel like? Is it piston change we need to do? Like what are all these little different things that we need to do? Even obviously madparts.com, our title sponsor, we get a ton of parts provided through those guys as well. So, that we have that resource to make a phone call, and, madparts.com is, helping us out with just different test parts. If we don't have a direct relationship with the company that's providing it, that we're working with, it's, hey, can we get something to at least test, and pick up the phone and call them, and the next day or two, something's arriving in the mail, and hey, let's test this part. Even for example, flywheel weight. We tested that a couple weeks ago, and it was like we don't have a company that we work with that provides flywheel weights, and like just little different things. It's like, hey, we're searching, we're trying to work. It's beneficial, maybe in a certain place it's beneficial, and pair that up with, 5 different piston combinations. You're going to get different things. So being resourceful, knowing what to test, how to do it, what combinations, having the base platform. Derek and I did a lot of base testing in supercross, just running through different fork heights, triple clamp offsets, linkage ratios, pistons, fuel, gearing, so many different things that we tested just to get the base. I did, 1,000 laps just testing base stuff to know when we go to the race, if a rider's struggling with this, let's put this on. If a rider's struggling with that, let's put that on. Just to have that resource there, we log all that stuff. So obviously, we're on the 2023 Kawasaki platform. If we were to change and say go to KTM, all that stuff's irrelevant, like it's useless. So, we do all this work for the platform that we have now. So, but to be able to have a rider like John or Freddie right now, to get them to the next level, some of them are struggling with, to have the base there, have the resources there, everything that we work for is super important. Sure, if you had a couple $1 million, you could go out and just hire somebody to do that. But at that point, you're probably be in a different sport, different hobby.
Right. That's super cool. It's cool to know that a team, an independent team like y'all, goes so deep into it. You guys are running, you have 5 different pistons, and you have rods, and you have races, and obviously triple clamps. That's even something dorks like me play around with, different offsets and stuff. But it's cool that you have partners like Duval where you can have different linkages. It's really, really cool. Like I'm a super nerd for bike setup. I find that I think I like setting up my bike more than I like riding it or racing it, which is kind of infuriating sometimes. I kind of sometimes wish I had like a stunt double to like race it for me, so that I could just like keep tuning on it and not get all beat up. So then I'm tired and hurt, and so I can't tune on it. I gotta lay up. But that side of it is so cool, and there's so little information out there. So I appreciate a little bit of insight. It was cool too. I was inside the rig with Matt from Power Band and Freddie talking about his forks, and hey, Fred, this fork is this, and they were talking about parts of the fork and like settings of the fork that I didn't know, like riders changed. Like that, I was like after I'm like, Matt, you guys changed what? You guys can change that? He's like, yeah, we have like 1 million different options for that. I was like, I wouldn't even thought, like, I just thought it was, shims and oil, and a different spring. Like you can, or like, a gold valve from Race Tech, or a different piston and all these different things. I was like, you changed that on a supercross rider's bike? He's like, yeah, that's like one of the most important things. It just blew me away. And I told him, like, you need to get your mind around a podcast of what you want to talk about setting up riders' bikes, and we have got to talk about it. Chris Kiefer does a great job with that with engines. He has, the guys from XPR and Twisted Development on pretty regularly talking about engine stuff, and it's awesome. He says those episodes crush. So I'm hoping to kind of do that. I'm more of a chassis nerd. I can't ride good enough to even do what like a bone stock KTM 250 will do, even though I got stupid and bought a 350. So that doesn't really matter to me, but I've always been, even when I was, racing regularly and out west doing off-road stuff, I'm very sensitive to chassis changes, and what it does to the suspension and how it all, has to be harmonious and how it's harmonious with the engine package. A bike it's got a soul, and it connects all of the different systems together, and it's so unique that way. So I'm glad that you could, kind of tap into that a little bit. And I'd love to have Derek on soon, to kind of talk more super nerdy techie stuff. And it's just so cool. Like watching you guys change a shock spring after qualifying on your bike. Like I was like, what? Like the biggest thing I've ever done on a race day, even racing at the A level, the expert level out west, was like coming in and being like, hey, I need you guys to put 5cc oil height in my forks. And my dad was like, "Oh my gosh, who are you, Chad Reed?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like I just need a little more hold up. Like when I'm in the bigger, deeper whoop sections out in the desert, like I'm diving and I'm gonna go into the bottom of a whoop and I'm gonna go flying. Like I need the forks to hold up a little more." And he's like, "Okay." And I watched you guys pull in and change a shock spring, and I was like, I think my dad would have killed me. I think he would have left me in the desert if I asked him to change a shock spring in the middle of a race day. So that was super cool.
Yeah.
And
Some of that comes back to just understanding and having that base test, though. Like for us, like I knew exactly what that was going to provide. It was no guesswork. It was like, hey, I'm searching for this today. I want this. This is the option that we have to change that. So let's make that change. And that comes back to all that preseason work that we did testing. When we run through all these combinations of everything, so we have the resource there to do that. So that is super important.
Yeah, I didn't realize you guys did so much background. Like I think the world needs to know more about Bubba Pauli, the madparts.com, Kawasaki Race Team, and how you guys operate on a really professional level. So I appreciate the time that you've given me and given MotoCult. I have one more somewhat fun question before I cut you loose to getting back to being a team owner. First of all, one funny thing. It's sick that you can ride at the highest level in the world and own the team, because I don't think Bobby Reagan's doing 1,000 laps on a supercross track. Now I get your team's results are a little different right now. Like Star Racing is on a little bit different level right now, but think about how long it's been since it was Bobby J's or whatever back in 2002, and how long it took him, and then look at how long it's been since you started International SX Race Team. And to where you are now, I think you guys are on a much steeper curve than Bobby Reagan and his organization, which, not taking anything away from them, they're obviously an incredible organization. But I just think that you guys are accelerating at a faster pace than they did, which is why I think you guys are going to be standing on the top step, honestly, very shortly. It's really, really cool. And we'll get on another show here soon, deeper into the off season, talking about next year and kind of what you guys are doing to improve. Maybe we can talk about who's going to be on the team. I'd like to give our community a little bit more information about the actual background guys on the team. The mechanics, who's going to drive the rig this year? Is Bailey going to do that again, or is he tired of it? And who's Derek firing and all this different stuff? That would be really cool to know, because again, your team is a bunch of really awesome, interesting people. So one more fun question, and then you can get back to trying to knock Bobby and Mitch off of their pedestals. But so obviously I have a little bit of a bias. MotoCult has a great partnership with Circuit Equipment. We love them. Louisa down there is awesome. She's great to work with. I'm honestly, I told her straight up that I'm a pretty much 110% honesty person. Like Chris Kiefer will talk about on his show, like he won't promote things that suck. So I told her if she shipped me stuff and it sucked, I'm not talking about it. I'll ship it right back. And I checked out the stuff. It was interesting that you guys ran it. I had no idea what it was until last year when I helped Josh out. Like I was like, hey dude, like what is all this? Like what is Circuit? I don't get it. I don't understand. Why are like these green bikes the only time I've ever seen this brand ever in my entire life? And I've been in this industry for almost 30 years. And it is kind of a shock, because when you learn they've been around since 84 and how much infrastructure they have, you're like, how have I not heard about this? But, they're making as she explained to me, they're making a big push into the US right now. And I'm extremely pleased and proud to be a part of that, kind of repping them here in the Southeast and trying to show people that, they're freaking legit. I got some parts in for my race bike for the hare scramble season here in North Alabama, and some parts for some guys that I'm helping out. Some giveaway parts that we're going to be giving away to the MotoCult family on some fun contests and stuff that I'm sure Bubba will be a part of as well. But I was legit impressed by the grips. The grips are awesome. Like, I was blown away at how good the grips are, legitimately. And two, we got the handguards that y'all run, and we got the other one, the Dakar, which I'll be honest, not all of Circuit's designs are my cup of tea. it's a different part of the world. You know, they're based out of Brazil, so some of their stuff is a little bit different than what I, you know, kind of like. And so I told her, you know, send us some of these, but send me a different set of handguards so we can run, you know, something a little different. And because a lot of guys run that same style that y'all run. And she sent me the Dakar. And honestly, I mocked it up on my bike, and I was like, dang, these are sweet. They look really good on the KTM, and they also are a lot stronger than I expected. You know, doing, you know, enduro and some hard enduro and hair scramble racing that I do, you know, handguards are one of the most important parts of the bike. And I was a little worried not doing full wraps. That's kind of what I've always done in that arena. But the Dakar handguard, honestly, is really strong. The mount is much stronger than I thought. It's a composite material, but it's super strong. But it also flexes to kind of not get your hand caught, as it can happen sometimes in the woods and hurt your hand. So out of all the circuit products you guys run gear and hard parts. What is your number one favorite thing? And it doesn't have to be, you know, what works the best necessarily, but like, what is one thing where you're like for me, it's the Dakar handguard, and it's like, dang, this is actually pretty cool and works really good. I want more people to know about this. So what's that product for you?
For me personally, it's the Kira lock-on grips. I had that pretty significant hand injury last year in 2023 during Supercross, and ended up losing half my thumb on my left hand. And those grips provide like just a perfect platform for me to still go out and compete at this highest level. So that for sure. I mean, I've tried other grips, and I can't get the same comfort and the same control out of them. And for those grips, they're awesome, and they're super durable, the quality of them, and their attention to detail in all their products. I actually have a grip right in front of me on my desk right here.
Yeah, me too. I keep one around because I like holding on to it at my desk.
Yeah. You know, it's a solid grip. It doesn't tear when you crash. You know, like it's just even the gold anodizing on the lock-on feature. Like it's awesome. You know, the Circuit has the grip donuts also. Like I ride with those, just provide a little extra cushion. But you know, I was really blown away by their attention to detail, the quality control that they have in their packaging, everything.
Yes, everything is super well, and their instructions are really good.
Yeah, you know, so it's that was one thing that just really blew my mind when I even just like unboxed a thing of handguards. I was just like, okay, like, you know, these people, you know, and my initial thought was like, these people pay attention to their quality of their packaging, you know, and that goes a long way. You get a product and you open something up, it's like, hey, that looks nice, you know, and you put it on your bike and it looks even nicer. So, you know, even just the little laser etched Circuit logo on the locking feature on the grip, like it's cool. Those little touches, you know, like they didn't have to do that. You know, they could have just left it bare, you know, but, no, they're a great product, great company. Been with them for a few years now. This is, I'm going to say 2022 is when we started working with them. So, no, 2021 we started working with them. So yeah, great company, great people. They're growing here. They're new to the US, but they're starting to make an impact here, and they're very established in other parts of the world, so it's cool to be a part of their growth here in the United States. So really blessed to be able to work with those guys, and look forward to more in the future for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like I need to send Louisa a DM and get me a pair of lock-on grips. I want to try those out, because we will listen here. Us mid-pack C on a good day, last in the line B class, you know, hair scramble racers and hard enduro wannabes. We put a beating on parts, probably much harder than a professional supercross rider does. So we will put that durability to the test. And I was very clear about that. I said, we fixing to put this thing through the ringer, as we would say down here in the South. So it's awesome that you guys, you know, had such a great experience, and I appreciate them a lot. Need to give me some grip donuts too. But yeah, check out MotoCult24 on Instagram. We're going to be kind of doing some reviews and explanations of their products and their company and where they came from and what they're trying to do here in the U.S. And it's great. They're a huge supporter of grassroots, down to earth people like me and Bubba, people who are just trying to ride dirt bikes, have a great time, and then people like Bubba also who are trying to make money at it, and Circuit understands that. They take it really serious. You know, they value the human being above all over the machine, and they really try and make the experience what's great, and not necessarily the bottom line of profit. So it's really cool to be able to work with them. We appreciate all their help. Check them out at circuitequipment.us. You can buy direct from them. Or they do on their Instagram. You can go and check out their dealer network in the United States. It's still growing. They're looking for dealers. So if you're a dealership that wants to carry Circuit Equipment products and look like me and Bubba out there, then go ahead and shoot them a DM. I'm sure they'd be happy to work with you. If you have any questions about Circuit Equipment products, shoot Bubba a DM. He'd be happy to answer them, I'm sure. He has a lot of experience with them for recommendations and whatnot. You can also DM me at MotoCult24 on Instagram, as well as, mention me on Twitter if you have any questions on Circuit Equipment products as well. Go ahead.
You get those on madparts.com too.
There you go. Check them out at madparts.com. That is one of their biggest distributors in the United States. So yeah, check it out, madparts.com, or in store, I believe, at Jonesboro Cycle over there in Arkansas, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's right. They got a pretty good inventory over there as well.
Yeah, we're excited about doing a test on their gear here soon and checking it out. I kind of stole some of Josh's gear in Nashville and was checking it out because I was like, there's no way this stuff is that good. Like, it's probably junk. And I was looking through his gear. I'm like, dang, this is actually sick. And like some of the colorways and stuff y'all did this year were like blew my mind. The camo and the other Bubba, the other Kawasaki Bubba tribute was sick as well. So it's cool that they support the sport here that we love so much, and they're so passionate. So thank you to Circuit Equipment, circuitequipment.us, or like Bubba said, madparts.com. All right, Bubba, I know I have taken up a little bit more of your time than we expected, but I really appreciate you caring about the grassroots fan as much as we do here at MotoCult and the Racers Connection. So let everybody know how best they can support the team and where they can find you on socials.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, our Instagram for me personally is just at Bubba Pauli. We got madparts.com Kawasaki. That's the race team page. Of course, Facebook as well, same things. I'm on LinkedIn. Our website sxraceteam.com. There's some contact info on there. So, a lot of different ways to reach out to us. But yeah, we're definitely open to working with people, and every little bit helps us go racing. Like I said, we're providing jobs over here, so nobody's lining their pockets with anything. It's the hard-earned salaries, and everything that we do to go racing. Every dollar counts. Everything is very much appreciated. So even somebody interested in helping us out, a logo on the bike, or just coming out and hanging out with us on the weekend, we can work with anybody and everybody and make sure that we can fulfill their return, what they want, if it's just a good time, if it's logo, advertising, if it's, just a simple write-off and they want a receipt too, there's many ways to help us out. So, we get a lot of that throughout the year, and it's a true blessing for sure. So it, like I said, it all goes to use, and it's very much appreciated.
Awesome. Well, that has been Bubba Pauli on the MotoCult Privateer Files, presented by the Racers Connection and Circuit Equipment. Check us out, MotoCult24 on Instagram. And we're going to cut the recording.